So the market's changing, and the industry's old market expectations, that's outdated. So my name is Alan Rich. I'm the managing broker here at Maximum One Realtor Partners.
My name is Bing Richardson, a compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
And we want to kind of chat about what we're seeing happen in our marketplace right now, especially as it relates to Georgia and the overall Atlanta market, that kind of stuff, because there's lots happening, and our market really is kind of evolving. So we want to talk about like what's happening with mortgages, what's happening with inventory, prices, all that kind of stuff. So we kind of want to start off like in the mortgage range, looking at what's really going on with mortgages as it relates to the real estate industry right now. So first up is we've seen a big shift this year in particular.
Absolutely.
In the number of FHA mortgages.
It's making us swim upstream.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not at the highest level that we've ever seen, but it is definitely way up from where it has been. Especially in Georgia in particular, we have more FHA mortgages than a lot of other states. It is kind of the starter loan type out there for a lot of our first-time buyers, and we are seeing a lot more of that coming on. We have seen more first-time buyers this year than we have last year, which is strange, but we're glad to see it. Always really, really glad to see it.
Absolutely.
Overall, for like what's happening with inflation, what's going on with debt, all that is putting a little bit of
stopping. A little damper.
It's kind of depressed, right? And so that's been keeping our mortgage rates higher for longer than we really have wanted to see, right? And so, the projections for moving forward are that we're going to start seeing interest rates slowly get better, kind of move towards, the general direction we'd like to see them. But the bottom line here is don't expect
a whole lot. And honestly, right now, even though with the anticipation the federal is going to cut the funding rates 2 more times.
Well, I mean, we
it's speculation.
They just held steady again this past week, and even though they held steady, there are still expectations of cutting the federal funds rate. But the federal funds rate is not the direct driver of interest of 30-year mortgage rates at all. As a matter of fact, last time that they dropped the federal funds rate, interest rates went up.
Interest rate went
up.
So it's got a combination of inflation, employment, and federal fund rate. So as far as the future projection, right now we're sitting around about 6.7,
something in that range,
overall, for a good credit. Now they are projecting to go down around about 6.5,
6.5 range,
by the end of the year.
Yeah. So we are seeing where it's going to be better. Please don't expect big drops. Don't expect, like, oh my goodness, look at how amazing interest rates are. That's not, we just don't see any reason for that happening right now. Inflation is still real sticky. The national debt is still causing a lot of concerns for folks. There's just a lot of turmoil going on. And so that's kind of where we are. Now, let's kind of switch gears and chat a little bit about what's going on in inventory.
Yes. And honestly, right now we have the number of homes for sale, available inventory, at the highest point in 6 years.
6.
Yes.
Right. And so now this is good. And a lot of folks right now, anytime we have anything happen in our market, everyone tends to lose their mind, right? They tend to get all mad. Oh my gosh, this guy's following this. Like if you remember just a couple of years ago, especially those of us in the real estate industry, we were like, man, if we only had inventory. No, my goodness, we don't have any inventory. Oh, where's the inventory? Look, inventory is increasing. We've seen inventory increase, and that's a really good thing. But, with this high jump in inventory, along with overall sales not being where we want to see them overall, existing sales hit a 9-month low. The other, as it pertains to residential real estate, supply versus demand is still like the big driver out there. And so anytime that we have more supply than we have demand for a product, the prices are going to moderate. And that's kind of what we're seeing. Right now, We are seeing the smallest price increases, the overall value
And
increases.
honestly, that's where it needs to be
Yeah.
because during pandemic we had such a huge jump that it was not realistic.
Yeah. Now we're not really looking at a lot, a huge depreciation overall, and I don't think that for the year we'll end up with any kind of contraction. But you're going to see some months up, some months down, that kind of stuff. But right now, what we're seeing is our buyers are able to be picky. They're able to be choosy.
Selective.
They're like one issue that we currently have right now is that a higher number of contracts have fallen through than we've seen in a long, long time, right? You know, in 2024, I think we saw like 18% of contracts, and it's over 20% now here in Georgia on the number of contracts that have fallen through. So we are looking, like how does that relate into pricing and what's happening with values? We're kind of looking at we are still looking at a slight increase here in Georgia. It's just not going to be the same level, the same, it's not going to be as fast as we've seen in the past. And that's going to be a shock, especially to our sellers. Uh, Over the last 5 years, property values in Georgia have appreciated over 50%. Our sellers are very used to, at this point, expecting a 10% jump in values every year.
And that no longer holds true.
Well, and
so
it's not true ever, really.
Just remember, real estate is very localized. So you may have a pocket Atlanta that is actually going 5%.
Yeah.
And you may have pocket Atlanta is going to negative 2%. So even those in Atlanta, it may have negative positive just because of location.
Well, you will have that, but we are really looking at just overall for the state, especially in the Atlanta area, where pricing is just going to be pretty flat. Now, overall, for the last 50 years, properties have appreciated about 4.5%, 4.4%, if you want to be exact. I don't think we're going to hit that this year. I think we're going to be somewhere between 1% and 3%.
Yeah, probably low ones.
Yeah,
personal opinion.
And so that's kind of where we see us coming in. And so we are seeing a marketplace where the inventory is rising and the prices are. I'm not going to say they're dropping. There's nothing close to a crash. I don't want. I hesitate to even throw that word out there because people get all antsy when you start talking about that.
And the buyer starts thinking, "Oh, I'm just hang on, I'm just going to hang on," and you know what? That may not be the case.
Yeah, because and this is also not a Georgia only incident, right? What's going on? Like we started off the year with 10 housing markets that were in the negatives on overall property value appreciation. And now, of those 300 markets that it started off at 10, it's up to 110 now. And so, overall, we're seeing the same issue carry through, especially all through the South, all through the entire U.S. The same exact sort of thing.
It's area that had the highest jump during pandemic. Are the area that's now being affected, especially your coastline, your California, your Texas. Those are probably the most impactful states.
Yeah. Now, our sellers are reacting to these market realities. Our sellers are reacting in a couple of different ways. Some things that we are seeing right now. One is that we are seeing where there's sellers who are now realizing they have to be more competitive on price. Our sellers are having to make sure that they are having to be open-minded about concessions
and repairs
and repairs, all those kind of things. Like 3 or 4 years ago, our sellers are like, all I want is cash. I don't want to see, like we're not going to make any repairs. You're going to take it or leave it. That's not our marketplace. If you're going to sell in this current marketplace right now, you have to understand what's really going on. The other thing that we're seeing happen is that the number of listings is now started to drop. Throughout all this year, we saw new listings, boom, 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 moving up all year long. And all of a sudden, we've reached a tipping point where we're seeing new listings, going right down into the basement right this moment. So that is going to affect us a little bit moving forward because we won't have quite as much inventory going into late summer and early fall as far as that goes. But like the sellers are having to react to the same market that our buyers are. Now, overall, this inventory that we've seen increase. Like right now, if you compare where we are
in June 2024 versus June 2025,
or in June versus like pre-COVID. So like right now, overall for the state of Georgia, we are up 35%. So we have a third more listings than we had this same time last year. And when you have yeah, but when you have that big of a jump of inventory, it is going to impact values. However, like Ming said, if you look at our total inventory now compared to where we were pre-COVID, 2019 kind of thing, we're still down.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, we're down 8%. We have 8% less listings right now. So are we moving towards a market that is a lot more balanced? Yeah, we really are. Now, that balance is definitely breaking up into different pricing tiers for sure. We're seeing where we have a lot more available inventory at some of the higher price points. One thing that is definitely driving the bus in our current marketplace is overall affordability. If you can afford to buy it, it just doesn't matter, kind of thing. So affordability is driving that, and that's why we're seeing such a big shift about what's going on with inventory levels and that kind of stuff. So Zillow came out with their forecast for where value is going in
from
Georgia.
2025 to 2026.
Yeah, and they're looking at a 1% drop. I don't really think we're going to see 1% down, but I see us being. It's probably not far off. I'm looking to be more in the 1 to 2% on the positive side, but they seem to think that we're going to be on the negative. Ming feels that we're going to be like, yeah,
we're going to be right on that line
there, kind of thing. And see, the real big deal here is that these buyer and seller dynamics
have shifted.
They've moved around. They have. When you look at the number of buyers and the number of sellers, in the past, especially the past 5 years, we had way more buyers than we had sellers. All of a sudden, we have more sellers than we have buyers ready to do. And so that is changing things for us overall in a market. Now, please understand, this is not that the market is crashing. This is not that the world is coming to the end. Like this is not the big deal. The fact is that we're moving into a balanced market, a neutral market, and in some of our areas, it's going to be a buyer's market, and so it's still going to be a seller's market. It's going to kind of depend on what's going on.
The location, right? Price, condition, and school district.
Yeah, because you have to just be realizing what's happening overall, because like the big question that you have to be ready to answer as a real estate professional is like, how's this going to impact my clients and how do I react to it? What we see is when agents react by just like shoving their head in the sand, not really being out there and talking to their folks, then you lose business overall. I mean, we know that right now we need to be communicating all these clients. Issues out there. We need to make sure that our sellers are very aware of what's going on. And for our buyers right now, right, one of the biggest messages that we want to come across, the buyers.
Are you as an agent ready for a buyer's market? Because right in the past few years, it's always been seller's market. And now we're in a buyer's market.
But I don't think we've really seen a buyer's market for 8 years, 9 years, maybe.
The strongest time it ever has been was during a downturn market.
Yeah, and so like we have to be ready to be able to, like, it used to be everyone wanted list to live. It was just about working listings. Now all of a sudden there's a lot more demand for working with buyers, and then also like helping our buyers to understand the power that they do have. There is a delicate balance. This has been a shift. This is not a flop. It's not that our buyers are going to go out and be like, I'm only going to pay this much and you're going to do this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, because that's not the market that we're in either, right? So do our buyers have more negotiation power? Yes or yes, right? Do they? But is this a buyer's market? No. I mean, we're a pretty balanced market right now overall. They do have way more power than they've had before. we're going to see where this whole thing works out. Interest rates come back down, the whole thing shifts again, right? So we're not real sure exactly how it's going to be, but I can tell you right now, we're in a very balanced place. We need to be setting realistic expectations with our buyers. But like the days of not being able to ask for repairs, or I'm afraid if I ask for this closing cost, if I ask for this, that the seller won't sell to me, that the seller will go to somebody else. That's not the marketplace that we're in right now, right?
No, it's okay to ask, but understand the limits. So a good realtor can give you comps around the area and let you know where you're going, whether or not that's a little too far extreme. And sometimes you may just have motivated seller that's ready to go. So it's a luck of the draw sometimes, and sometimes it's about how you negotiate.
So basically, how we want to wrap up is it's all about communication.
Absolutely.
Communicating with our sellers about where they sit in the marketplace, with our buyers where they sit in the marketplace. Also, we're still selling like 11,000 houses a day right now. This is not a bad market. This is not a down market. Like overall volume is really pretty flat to where it's been. We have folks that are having their absolute best years ever. So don't talk yourself down about what's happening in our marketplace either right now.
The thing is find a solution to the problem that you may or may not have. And when you can answer those solution to when you can find a solution to those problem, you're likely going to be a lot more successful.
So have a great week.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye now.